I should report that I spent New Year's
Eve.
in the hospital. I had to be taken there that morning early, so I had what I was considering a chronic fatigue crash. In other words, I just started. What happens with chronic fatigue is you can be going 100 miles an hour and then you crash and then you can hardly even. So that's what happened on the morning of the 31st. And I didn't even dare get up from my chair. I was at the computer when it happened, and everything was going around and around like this. And I started feeling nauseous, but most of all, I was very concerned about my eyes not focusing. So I called 911, and when they came, I proceeded to get, things were still whirling. And also I was nauseous, so naturally they were thinking like, well, we got to check her out for what's going on here. Nausea. They asked me if I had pain. I had no pain. It was just mainly those two symptoms, but they were bad enough as far as I was concerned. And I'm sorry I didn't have time to notify you that I was on my way on the gurney out the door, since I didn't even dare get up. And so I landed there the day before New Year's, and it was my first trip to the hospital they asked my daughter when she arrived, what did your mother usually do in case of emergency about her meds and so on, and she said, she has never been in the hospital since her last kid was born, so I guess that's good. Yeah, it's probably real good. Because I've taken care of some mighty bad crashes of chronic fatigue by myself, and they didn't test me or anything else. I wish they had it done. Maybe they'd have found something. Because believe me, I got tested up one side and down the other after I got in the hospital. And I was just fussed over all day long, all night. Blood was taken, blood pressure, all kinds of things. And I just had a tremendous amount of attention for New Year's Eve by 3 or 4 doctors, nurses, and other personnel. So, altogether, I did get some attention, which I must have needed in there. In fact, I think it's a good idea at my age, 81, to have a thorough going over. And, he's trying to get attention too, poor thing. He didn't get in the hospital. So, in fact, he was left to his own devices there for days. He barely got any attention at all. So, he has to get it.
I feel so neglected.
Well, he doesn't like to admit it, but he was pretty surly.
Yes, I
was. He just...
You missed the best part, too. I told you that New Year's morning, 5 o'clock, the siren goes off. There has been something reported in the building, Do not use the elevator, use fire, take the stairs. This went on for over an hour, and I went, who are these sick puppies in this place that would actually put enough smoke to make a smoke detector go off, That makes the whole damn place go nuts. But nobody's paying attention. On New Year's morning, all these hangover drug addicts and alcoholics.
All right, now he's had his mender to explain what he was doing on Christmas, on New Year's morning. I was still being tested, but I'm happy to say that the day before,
I didn't shoot anybody.
I have a terrible time getting people to talk, to talk to people. And, I told my son, I said, I'm even willing to pay some people to talk to me, but you can't even find people to pay. say.
Wait a minute.
But my son, he was all day. Well, I can't talk to
second.
you only a few minutes before you get too surly and I have to storm out of here.
Well, I charge $1
'Cause,
a minute. That should be just $5 right there.
Well,
you know?
and you can see just from how he presents himself that he might become a little obnoxious, you know. And then you'd have to leave. So I'm happy to report that all the day of the 31st, my second son Raymond came and spent the day. My oldest son Gary came, and my daughter Rhonda, and they were all around my bed there trying to figure out what to do. And my daughter had to go get my meds since I had told the emergency people I was all prepared. I had my meds written out. They just took it and threw it away on the floor. I found it on the floor when I came home. And so the hospital told them that they needed my meds. So she volunteered to go get my meds and bring them to the hospital. And by that time I was very nauseous. And you know, I had stayed off sugar. Or I'm sure this crash would have been much worse if I'd eaten, you know, all the standard pie, cake,
What are you looking at me for?
candy,
I don't feed you anymore.
candy, all that sort of thing, but I didn't. So and I'd been losing weight all year, so I was in relatively good shape for this crash. And if you can call it, you know, a good shape for a crash.
You think I need to have my glasses cleaned off or anything like?
You've got enough mileage out of those blue glasses.
Yeah,
I don't even care anything about those blue. But anyway, after my daughter went to get the meds,
Do I hear music?
and they were still taking my blood, taking my blood sugar,
Pick my nose and flick
because I was nauseous. And finally, I threw up before my daughter could get back violently. They'd been giving me a bag. I was carrying it around, and I'd laid the bag down somewhere I couldn't reach it. So, oh my goodness! So they had to come but I did manage to, you know, didn't do anything on the bed. And here come my daughter in. I said, "Well, you're going to have to help me." And so she got in on the worst part. But I had eaten something that I never should have eaten, and that was wings that were 3 days old. And a piece of pizza that was 3 days old that he had bought and for our
No, I had
holiday.
paid for it and you bought it.
Well, there was nothing else open. See, ASU, all the more healthy places closed during the holidays. And they just leave, you know, the fried food, junk food stuff to, and so I had eaten these wings, which I would ordinarily never eat. You know, wings are off my list because they're just loaded with fat, because I do need to go off carbohydrates like, you know, fatty foods too. And so I was indulging myself a little bit for Christmas, and apparently these 3-day-old wings just violently disagreed with me. My aging. So altogether, but the eye thing was caused from terrible strain from all my internet activities, because, oh people, this is a complicated collapse, and I hope you have the patience to figure out with me what happened. Why did I spend this?
I can tell you.
Oh, he thinks he knows, but I know more about what I was doing than he knows.
Then why are you asking other people to tell you what's
Oh
wrong?
no, but I had to go over and
you.
say what happened. And what had happened, which I think you'll be very interested in, is that months ago, probably around in February, a reporter from the Arizona Republic,
Oh, now you're going to start the problems.
local newspaper, had contacted me to do a story on me. She said that she had seen my online activities, and did I know anybody else that she could talk to? And I thought, oh my goodness, what? You know, because I regard myself as the watchdog of the press, and I'm pro-life.
What? watchdog of the press.
Yes, because I'm pro-life.
How
I'm
much
a
does that
Democrat.
pay?
This
How
Westwood
much does
Hole
that
where we
pay?
live has long been a Democrat meeting place.
You better leave this about another 5 minutes because
and,
they're going to cut this off.
Oh, they're not either. They've done a lot of videos like this. YouTube has to try to
Yeah, but you start naming
present both
names and
sides.
start making derogatory comments about things. That
Oh,
like that.
oh, you poor thing, you're just so frightened, aren't you? I'm not afraid.
Watch this. Boy, I'm scared.
He's a liberal. He's a liberal. So he still votes
I'm a
Democrat.
libertarian.
And
I'm a Libra. Look it up. October.
Uh-huh.
It's Libra.
well, anyway, what happened is I thought to myself, oh gosh,
Stop thinking to yourself. Stop.
The Republic
doing
doing
it.
a
It's not
story
good for
on
you.
me. That's going to be very hard because, I haven't always been positive about the Arizona Republic. Criticized them for this article, that article.
There you go again.
My videos, and I thought, oh, how could they do but I liked the reporter. I thought she was a very appealing girl, and she had
You
Mormon
kidding me?
background.
She was cute.
She had a Mormon background. I thought, well, I think she'll understand me because
I
we
thought
both
she
got
was
Mormon
cute.
backgrounds. If anybody can do it, she can do it. And so I said,
You don't
okay,
have a Mormon background.
I agreed. I was raised a Mormon for
But
many
you
years.
never had a Mormon background. You saw a
What do
lot
you-
of the geeky.
Oh, hey. So, anyway, we and so she came several times and interviewed me. And I even brought her
So-
to Doc's house. In fact, I told her, I said,
So
well,
what
my
you're trying to-
partner
so what you're-
is an
Let me get to the
alcoholic.
point here.
Can
What you're
you,
trying to say is that
taking a while. Hey, let me get to the point, don't you? So I brought her here to Doc's and said she wanted to know how I made videos. And I said, well, I make them in Doc's apartment, but he's an alcoholic. Can you handle that? And she said, oh, yeah. And she thought about it, and then she said, well, yes, I can handle that. So she brought another person who was over her, she said, to watch us make a video.
Okay.
So when we came in, I
wrong ear.
was a
That's
little
the
bit
wrong
afraid
ear.
of how he would act if he was on camera with people watching him. He would probably, get a little carried away. So I thought, my grandson, Dante, who's been coming here for years to see me, called me up, and I thought, I've made a number of videos with him, and I told him to come over, and he would go down with us, and Dante would be the subject instead of him. And he could just say stuff, but he wouldn't be So Dante came, he's about 16, and he and I made a video. And I thought it was a very apropos video. And the two people from the Arizona Republic were right over there watching us. And then they watched me while I
Instead of
uploaded
using the
it.
name of the paper, you'd probably be.
Oh, the paper.
Just say, there's a newspaper here.
The
I think
main
everybody knows the
newspaper.
only newspaper in the state of Arizona.
Okay, well, anyway, then, so I thought,
watch this,
I
folks.
thought, well, I don't know how this is coming. And so then I introduced her to another, who I thought would balance, the story, because he was
It's not loaded.
Democrat,
You know.
he was and I admire Victor because he's done a lot. He puts himself
Why
out
do
a
you
lot
keep using people's
for
names?
the residents. And so I thought he was another subject that I thought that they could get a very good story on, because he's got big health problems, but he just comes back over and over, does for the people, and he's the one that puts out a big long newsletter every month. So he's really verbal, and I thought he would give her a great, and I set it up. I was even there to the first interview.
Why would somebody put out a newsletter be verbal?
And she came back, and they sent photographer to take his picture. And I thought, well, things are kind of going along, but no photographer ever showed up to take my picture, so I thought, well, let's see. But in May, the reporter got a big story in the press, and I thought it was a great story. It was dealt with kind of complicated things, religious beliefs, Mormon religious beliefs, and so on. I thought, well, this is, and with a Mormon running for president. This kind of looked good, but still the public is, Democrat. Liberal, if you could use those terms, and he thinks. So anyway, I thought that she really wrote a very good story. So I thought, well, things are looking. But then went for bad horse. There was no more action on the story, even though, and I didn't really know what had happened, went through the election. And the next thing I knew, I think after the election was over, and that, of course, was very, it was pretty stressful, with both sides just sort of, and, but anyway, got through that, and I thought, well, the election is over, we know who's going to win, and who has won, so we know what's going to be for the next 4 years. And then I heard that from the reporter who said she was no longer with the Arizona Republic.
But
she was gone.
Right?
And the story, of course, was, and I thought, oh my word, because I'd communicated with her and said, well, what happened to the story? And she said, well, I hope they let me do it later. I've been assigned to another beat, and I thought, well, why did they assign her to another beat before they let her finish the story? Oh, well, I know. They looked at some of my blogs and videos and decided, which I thought they would turn me down as a subject in the first place. Possibly. And so anyway, oh dear, I'm distracted here with the old, he's trying to get a little more attention. It's hard for him.
She says, I've got a white hat, you have to have a white hat. I don't like the shirt, you can have the sweatshirt. I don't like the fact that you're showing your knees, I gotta wear black pants.
But what happened after I heard that, that she had left that, is I started getting upset, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go over to the Arizona Republic and talk to her editor so I can find out from their mouth what happened. Because I thought,
you got two.
I've been on edge.
You got two chances of getting this on YouTube. One is none, and the second is.
Oh, for heaven's sake! He imagines
me.
things. He imagined YouTube is just, and I don't imagine him being that way. And so, anyway, I went over there,
Yeah, I'm not
and
81 years old.
her editor. They told me that so and so was her editor, and so he went there. But he invited me to leave a message and took his email. And
yeah, but
so,
I believe he invited you to leave, didn't
and
he?
I told the security guard there, I said, well, he knew Jamie Rose. I said, well, she was going to do a story on me, and they just didn't go with it because it's political, I said, and I was in my walker, I was pretty agitated, so then I said,
you hit him with your walker?
and I said, how
you
could the
ran over
paper
him with your walker?
be afraid to print a story about an 81-year-old lady in a walker?
I'm afraid to be seen on YouTube with you. That's why you think I'm wearing this.
You would think that they could have handled this story, but this is the state of the country. Even old ladies like me
it's your state.
are, my state. Apparently, I've had to, fight this battle, and I fought it for 40 years. I've been a abortion protester for 40 years, trying in my way to contribute to the cause of dropping abortion deaths, which to me have been astronomical in this country.
I'm going to get
astronomical in the world. It is something that a civilized, humane society should not tolerate. So I thought, well, and the paper cannot figure out a way to do a story. So I went back home and proceeded to send him more emails, giving him a piece of my mind. And this is the added...
You don't have many pieces to give away.
The added stress
you're 9 pieces short of a pie.
Caused this chronic fatigue crash because I'd already exhausted myself during the election, writing blogs, notes, all kinds of stuff. And then on top of that,
We'll send this to all
being,
our enemies.
agitated over this story, I just crashed.
I know.
You know, this is what happens when you do too much, and especially you're aging. You just all of a sudden crash. If you've had a long history of chronic fatigue, like I have.
Let's not even talk about your sons and daughters.
So,
right?
Hey. See, he's and then have to fight him too, and but my daughters they gathered around my bed, and I told them, I said, well, I wouldn't get in so much trouble if you guys had talked to me more. I mean, I wouldn't have to go over to the Arizona Republic and pick a fight, you know, fight with them.
She picks a fight with me every morning. She comes in the door and I say,
maybe they would, you know. So ever since then, my son, Raymond, has been calling me and calling me. My daughter,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
she's very busy. She's a nurse too. She hasn't been calling me too much, but I told her, now you need to call your mother a little bit more so you know what she's doing. So when she's headed over to the Arizona Republic,
that's what
tell
my mother
the
always used to say.
whole bunch
You
of
need
them
to call
off,
me a little
you
more.
can
Yeah,
maybe,
right,
you
Mom.
know, be aware so that you can help her not to crash after she, you know. And so guess what? I stopped reading the Arizona Republic, you'll be happy to know. And once
Yes,
you
I
know,
know.
once
Okay.
before I crashed writing protest letters to
I
the
bought
Arizona
this, and
Republic.
you know what?
And I had to
She
stop reading.
refuses to look at it.
I do. I can't look at it anymore.
Okay.
I'll get upset and I might go over and tail them off again. So
Yeah, but
we
you ought to
can't,
hit me with it.
we can't have that, you know. So I've given up that, and I was able to stop
than that,
writing
my life's
emails
a
to
real laugh.
the editor that, you know, and all of them swore up and down that my views had nothing to do with them not doing this story, that it happened all the time, that they just gathered information and then they somehow didn't go with that story. It was just totally, you know, I didn't believe a word of it, you know. And, you know, maybe my kids could have talked some reason into me, you know, said, now, Mom, you know, you're getting pretty old to go over there and fight with the Republic in person. I mean, that, you know, it just started off, you know.
I have put all my
But they know
knives
who I am
away.
now. And I
Utilities
think that, you know, they can look up the Westward Ho just a couple of blocks away and be afraid.
You have
know,
to keep
say,
naming names.
you know,
I live here.
there's an old lady lives in there. She's just, we've already got a bad reputation in here.
Why do you keep dragging me
Since
into your rip?
quite a few of
I
the
have a very
chronically
nice
mentally
reputation.
ill live here, and I'm certified.
You bet your ass you're certified.
I've been in a mental institution.
Yes, you have.
Imagine that, for 2 weeks one time, for a month another. This was very early in my 20s. And I maintain that I was never insane. It was a mistake.
Of course it was.
to do.
That's the first thing any
And,
psychologist will
They
tell
just
you.
don't seem to think that.
I'm not insane, sir. You are.
Oh.
I see. Yeah.
So you can see, and I think the Arizona Republic missed a wonderful opportunity to get in depth, but you know, they just didn't feel up to it, so. And now that I've crashed, I can't read this anymore, and I'm sure they're not going to come knocking on my door, so it's over. And I didn't get my fame. You know, I thought I could picture myself being famous all over Arizona.
Yeah, but the
They
problem
read this
was
paper.
you keep dragging me into it.
And they took away my fame. Somebody's always taken away my fame. All of my whole life. I
Wait a
just
minute.
couldn't get any
Wait a second.
recognition.
Wait, just a second. First, before, come on, before
Any
somebody can
possibility.
take something away from you, you have to have it.
Well, the reporter.
Nobody can take
she
something
thought
from you that you don't have.
My
You never
YouTube
had
channel,
any fame, so how can they
well,
take it away
the
from you?
reporter thought my YouTube channel would, you know, people would show more interest in it. And I thought, well, great, yeah, I need a little recognition so that I can get more people on to watch my channel. And so,
Yeah, but what's happening? I'd like to
boy.
check.
Oh,
You know,
boy.
I've seen so
You
many
know,
stuff
a little
on there.
recognition is very
Oh,
hard
yeah, it
to
really
get
is.
nowadays.
Really a bitch.
Especially, you know, if
I'm gonna
you're...
take all these pictures down because nobody gives a shit about that.
So anyway,
except that they are worth.
I'm going to call a halt to this, and here he is, my
Yeah, baby, what's
my
that?
companion. You know, if I can put up with a companion like him,
Where do you
it just shows I'm very
where
tolerant.
do you get these?